Shortly, what are financial ratio? Financial ratio is used to calculate the company financial status or the production against other firms. It is also used by the investor to analyze and also gain information about the company history and also the entire business sector.
Maxis Communications or Maxis Berhad was created in 1993 by Tan Sri Ananda Krishnan. Maxis is one of Malaysia's oldest and largest telecom companies. The company got a license to operate GSM 900 mobile web statewide in 1993, including the local fixed web and international gateway. Maxis grew by starting a nomadic business in 1995 and fixed lines and global gateway operations in 1996. This telco offers different services across various platforms to serve consumers, small businesses and large corporations. Examples include mobile landlines, prepaid lines and cyberspace internet. Gokun Ogut, Maxis CEO, is now running the whole company.
I will explain about the Maxis company liquidity ratio, activity ratio and leverage ratio. For the liquidity ratio, based on the current ratio within these 5 years, we can see that in 2020, the company was not doing well, with the highest ratio still not being more than 1. This indicates the company is not liquid and unable to pay its short-term liabilities. And then based on the quick ratio between 2016 until 2020, we can see that 2020 was a year where it had a highest ratio out of 5 years, but the company is unable to pay their short-term obligation without relying on liquid assets. Both ratios shows substandard performance in all 5 years because the company did achieve a ratio of more than 1. Therefore, it shows that the company is unable to fulfill their current obligation with their available current assets. Moreover, for the activity ratio, fixed asset turnover within these 5 years, we can see that in 2020, the company was doing better and more effective in using a fixed asset to generate sales as it has the highest ratio compared to other years. Also, the year 2018 was chosen as the best year compared to all other years because of the highest total asset turnover. That indicates the better and more effective the company in using all the resources or assets to generate sales in the year. The company has the highest activity ratio and efficiently leveraging the assets on its balance sheet to generate revenues and cash. Last but not least, for the leverage ratio, the effective debt ratio is in 2017 with 63.42%, which has the lowest percentage between all 5 years. It is stated that the lower the debt ratio, the lower the company at risk, while the ineffective ratio is in year of 2016 with 75.97% that indicate the highest amount of debt of a company. Debt to equity ratio is quite similar to the debt ratio, where the lower the percentage is, the better for the company. Hence, the better debt to equity ratio for the Maxis between these 5 years is in 2018, with the lowest amount of debt being utilized to the capital by the company's owner, while the ineffective debt to equity ratio is in 2016 with the highest amount of debt made. It is since here that Maxis has made the improvement where their debt decreased a lot by the year of 2017 until 2018 with almost the same amount of the debt.
Next, I will continue with profitability ratio for return on assets. It shows that in 2017 is the highest return on assets, better than 2016, 18, 19 and 2020. It means that the company was effective in generate their net profit using total assets at that particular year. For return on equity, from 2016 to 2020, in 2017 also is the greatest, and the company generate the net profit using total equity nicely. Both ratios in profitability ratio was in a good performance in generate their net profit using total assets and total equity in investment or sales of company. Next, market ratio for Maxis in earning per share. Comparing from 2016 to 2020, 2017 shows the highest earning per share. In that particular year, the company experienced the highest dividend paid out to shareholders and higher market value was obtained. The last one for Maxis in market ratio is dividend per share. 2017 has the most dividend per share, better than 2016, 18, 19, and 2020. Both ratios in market ratio shows good performance in 2017. It means the company generate the higher dividends paid out to shareholders and receive dividend per share to generate market value from the investment.
Hello, I'm Hadini Mawar. Now shall we look at the background of Digi company? Firstly, when we talk about mobile service, I believe that a lot of us already knew about Digi, as many of the users in Malaysia use Digi as their mobile service. There's about 10.4 million people in Malaysia who use Digi as their mobile service. Did you know that Digi is the first to ever use a fully cellular network? Now let's look a little bit more detail about Digi background. Digi is founded in 1995 with the name of Mutiara Swisscom Berhad, and then it changed to Digi Berhad in the year of 2000, and this name is used until now. As inspired is Digi principle, as you can see in the logo itself. Digi has set their purpose, which is to empowering society while connecting the business, people, and also the society, which is the customer themselves in what matter the most to them. As for that, they prioritize their customer a lot and keep trying to find ways to improve their company. Digi headquarters is located in Bucharest in Romania, while in Malaysia it is located at Shah Alam. Don't forget to mention, Digi also has won the title of the most consistent fast download speed.
Next, I want to explain a ratio for Digi company. Firstly, liquidity ratio, which are current ratio and quick ratio. Based on the current ratio, within these 5 years, we can see that in 2017, the company was doing well as it has the highest ratio compared to the other years. Besides that, in 2020, which was recently, we can see that in terms of the company's current ratio, it is the lowest with just 0.61. Based on the quick ratio between 2016 to 2020, we can see that in 2017 was the year where it has the best ratio out of all 5 years, with a ratio of 0.8. We can see also that in 2020 it will have the lowest ratio of just 0.55. This is because of the downfall in the economy with the pandemic of COVID-19 on the rise. With that being said, both ratios show subpar performance, especially in 2020. Therefore, it shows that the company is still able to fulfill their current obligation with the available current asset. Secondly, activity ratio, which are fixed asset turnover and total asset turnover. Based on the fixed asset turnover, these 5 years, we can see that in 2016, the company was doing better or more effectively in using fixed assets to generate sales, as it has the highest ratio compared to the other years. And based on the total asset turnover, within these 5 years, we can see that in 2016, the company was doing better or more effectively in using all its resources or assets to generate sales, as it has the highest ratio compared to the other years. With both ratio in these 5 years, we can see conclude that in 2016, the company has the highest activity ratio and effectively leveraging the assets on its balance sheet to generate revenue and cash. Thirdly, leverage ratio, which are debt ratio and debt to equity ratio. Based on the debt ratio compared in these 5 years, it is shown that the debt ratio in 2018 is the best debt ratio made, as it has the lowest percentage, which indicates that it has the lowest debt and company is in their lowest risk compared to these 5 years. Meanwhile, the worst debt ratio is seen to be in 2020 with the highest percentage of debt ratio. This indicates that the company is in danger risk with higher debt in 2020 compared to all these 5 years. Therefore, clearly action needs to be taken in order to decrease the debt ratio percentage in the upcoming years. The debt to equity ratio in 2018 has recorded the best ratio, as it is the lowest out of these 5 years. The highest debt to equity ratio stated here is in 2020, which is where the company is at its highest risk with a big amount of debt, while it started in 2016 with a quite high amount of debt and increased amount of debt in 2017 along with 2019. Therefore, since the most risk amount of debt is started in year 2020, which is the latest year compared, an improvement needs to be made in order to avoid the company in a high risk of debt.
Next is the profitability ratio. For this ratio, we choose return on assets and return on equity. Based on the return on asset within these 5 years, we can see that in 2016, the company was doing better or more effectively in generating net profit using total assets, as it has the highest ratio compared to the other years. Based on the return on equity within these 5 years, we can see that in 2018, the company was doing better or more effectively in generating net profit using total equity, as it has the highest ratio compared to the other years. Both ratios show that the company has a good performance in generating their net profit using total assets and total equity in investments or sales of the company. Next is market ratio. For this ratio, we choose earning per share and dividend per share. The earning per share for 5 years, from 2016 until 2020, show that 2018 has the highest earning per share compared to other years. In this particular year, the company experienced the highest dividend paid out to shareholders and a higher market value was obtained. The dividend per share for 5 years from 2016 to 2020 shows that 2019 has the most dividend per share, reflecting higher dividends received per share. Both ratios show good performance in 2019 that generates the company to get higher dividends paid out to shareholders and receive a dividend per share to generate market value from the investment.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Haritz and I will be presenting on the interpretation of both companies. Okay, so first of all, based on the liquidity ratio, we can say that both ratios shows that Maxis is better than DG. Okay, this indicates that Maxis has more liquidity and are able to meet its current obligation with its available current assets. Next, we have the activity ratio. So based on the activity ratio, we have the FATO, which is the fixed asset turnover. Okay, this shows that Maxis is better than DG, which indicates that Maxis are more efficient in using only fixed asset for their product for sales. Meanwhile, in the TATO, which is the total asset turnover, it shows that DG is better than Maxis, which indicates that DG is more effective in using all of its resources to generate sales. Alright, next we have the leverage ratio. In the leverage ratio, both ratio shows that Maxis is better than DG. Okay, this is because the debt ratio shows that Maxis has a lower debt percentage in total assets than DG. Meanwhile, in debt equity ratio, Maxis shows lower debt, which indicates lower risk to the company compared to DG, who has higher debt. Furthermore, we have the profitability ratio. Okay, so all ratio from the profitability ratio shows that DG is better than Maxis. This indicates that growth prospect and productivity of assets in producing assets compared with Maxis is way better. Finally, we have the market ratio. So the market ratio indicates that DG has a better earning per share compared to Maxis. This means that the monetary value of earning per outstanding share of common stock of DG is way better. On the other hand, the dividend per share of Maxis has a better ratio when compared to DG. This means that the total amount of dividend attributed to each individual share outstanding of Maxis is higher than that of DG.
Maxis Communications beat DG Telecommunications Sdn Bhd in terms of improving performance over the previous 5 years according to the assignment. All these types of ratios that are used for monitoring the business performance and comparing the business result with competitors. If an investor had to choose between these two companies, I would most likely choose Maxis Communication based on their long-term performance and resource management. Like DG Telecommunications Sdn Bhd, their ratio did not improve with time and in some cases begin to fall. This assignment is extremely beneficial in assessing any company's performance. Nevertheless, these ratios are generated using the balance sheets as of a given date. Based on the information in the cross sections, we recommend for investor to choose the services of Maxis over DG. First of all, DG's management teams needs to improve in all aspects. Besides that, both debt ratio and debt equity ratio shows that Maxis is superior compared to DG. Not only that they have a lower percentage in a total asset, but also they have lower debt generally, which indicates the company has low risk. The company must also do calculation and comparison to determine how much debt financing is appropriate.